Hello and welcome to Robin's TV Extra Time as we look back and analyse Bristol City's visit to the Kassam Stadium, a place they've not visited before. They go into this one, of course, looking for a vital away win. Oxford, fantastic form as it stands, had not lost since before Christmas and had won the last 4 at home. In the studio with me for this one, Leroy Rossignol and Chris Honor. Chris was on commentary whilst Leroy joined me in the studio. Chris, a pretty frantic game and lots of talking points.
Yeah, interesting, wasn't it? There's lots of major things happening apart from the 2 goals. Some great refereeing, some big sending offs. There's, it was good. Plenty for us to chat about, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And Leroy, if we look at the tail of the tape with the statistics across the game, it makes for some quite interesting reading, particularly Oxford dominating possession.
Yeah, no surprise. Second half, we sit down to 10 men. With the changes, we thought Twine might stay on the pitch, but he kept George Earthy on the pitch, and that 3 of Earthy, Bird and Knight in the midfield, they just shuffled across in front of the back 5, which is hard work, by the way, just going from side to side, the 3 of them, the back 5, then just picking off, trying to get tight to people and make sure they keep in their shape. So they worked extremely hard, and then obviously Armstrong just at the top of that tried to get the ball into him, win set pieces, and you have to say the plan worked, but they allowed Oxford to have possession and then played forward a lot earlier. And do you know what? That's what they should have done with 11 men. In all honesty, they played forward earlier when that's what they got the opportunities in the first half, where they played more direct, where they were more forceful, and it worked for them.
Yeah, and I think, Chris, on the balance of things, we were most surprised to see how many shots Oxford had compared to Bristol City, and then the expected goals that comes with that.
It's almost like I was watching a different game. I can't remember them having 20 shots. Ironically, one of their crosses was a shot and ended up as a goal. So I mean, the stats tell you they had 4 shots on target. They're probably the ones I remember, but I don't remember the other 16, that's for sure. And I thought the Bristol City defence did reasonably well. It was only the one minor mistake which led to a goal that kind of made us suffer.
Yeah, and the vast majority of those shots really came from the man who became their danger man in the first half with his blonde hair bobbing around. It was Plaqueta. And Leroy, his contribution fizzled out as the game, I think, went on, but certainly at the start he looked the most dangerous.
He looked the most dangerous because he got the most of the ball, but his finishing was woeful. Let's be honest, he didn't hit the target on too many occasions. And Ross McCrory, it was more difficult because Ross had picked up that yellow card early on, so he kind of backed off him a little bit more. But this was kind of the tail of him. When he got into that position, he never tested Max O'Leary in the goal. And you know what? He was one of those players for me that kind of flatters more than he actually produces. Again, he goes wide, and I mean that's just a terrible attempt.
It's in the car,
isn't it? And it's not being disrespectful to him, but wide players like him frustrated me because I just felt he made poor decisions, and the decisions he made never really it just kind of deflated the atmosphere. Even when he got the ball, he looked all busy, nothing, and then nothing. And in the end, he came off, and Ross did a decent job on it.
Yeah,
I thought the first one, which we just showed there, was the real chance, the only chance he really had, and he had plenty of space to get his body shape right and curl it into the corner, which we can see that wingers can do it because we're going to show one in a minute. But for me, he wasted so many opportunities where he just flattered to deceive.
Yeah, and then the main talking point then followed, the first piece of controversy for the game, and when the referee was very much involved. It was Lee's, what we thought at the time could be a red card. Certainly you, Chris, and Alex thought commentary should have been a red card. Leroy, you and I in the studio less convinced.
Yeah, I was less convinced at the time. Just looking at it from my perspective, the ball bounces up and he just dangles his leg, and he's actually, he's not forceful with it. His foot's in the high position, absolutely no doubt, and it catches Joe Williams, just above the thigh. But you know what? Just my thought was, it's a yellow card. It's not like he's going through him or trying to hurt him, but.
He obviously sort of turns his body.
And then you just think, it might be an orange at best, yellow card. Absolutely, Joe gets up, absolutely fine. Yeah, get on with it. I don't know what you thought, Chris.
I think you're right, 100%. He does turn his back, so it's not a deliberate stamp. So he's kind of trying to deflect and use his body to not do any real damage.
No.
But it's just the fact he caught him so high above the knee, which is Which is where the offence lies. You know, he shouldn't have been going for a bobbly ball, but the ball was bobbling all afternoon. And again, you're criticised for not committing yourself into a tackle, and you're criticised if you do. So he's caught in a bit of a vague area where he had to make the tackle, and it deserved a booking in hindsight.
You're right, Chris. And the thing is that there's no VAR in the Championship, and I like it. If there's VAR, by the way, he must get sent off, because what they do, they get and they slow it down. They say, "Oh right,"
and they show where the foot hit him above the knee. And they give it. But you know, it's Joe Williams gets up, and you know the referee gives a yellow card, and we get on with it. Think, okay, that's the level. And continue that. Was disappointed that he didn't keep at that level. He dropped his levels and didn't do the same for both sides.
I guess the question is, would VAR have overturned this one when the red card did eventually come? Unfortunately, it was Joe Williams that was on the receiving end of it. If VAR had been involved, Leroy, would this been overturned?
Most probably not, because the referees, it's like they do not overturn decisions because they say, the level, they make a reason as to why it was a red card. And it wasn't. You know, at first look, this actually looks worse to the referee than the other one. And the reaction of the Oxford fans, because you do go off human reaction as well. You think, something really bad's happened. But nothing's bad has happened. He's won the ball with one foot and he's taken the other guy out with his other foot. The problem for Joe is he's a little bit off the ground, he's going in forcefully, and the referee then's reacted and thought, something worse has happened than I've actually seen. And that, you can't do that as a referee. You've got to make a decision on its merits, and that deserved a yellow card. So it was a poor decision by Oliver Langford.
I mean, not only did they sort of channel their anger, the players, at the referee, but also at Joe Williams, all these theatrics, of course, contributing to his decision overall. They obviously went in then, Bristol City, at the break and made a couple of changes. Chris, what do you think the message would have been from Liam Manning at that point?
Well, I've been in a dressing room many times when someone has been sent off. And what the referee is basically, the manager is asking of you is all of you to stand up and add a little bit, 10% more to your game, up your levels. And they're always trying to get the change in your structure or your formation into your heads. But I was very much one of those guys who listened to the effort levels of my teammates. You know, if we can bridge the gap by adding a 10%, we can make up for the missed man or the missed player on your side. And once the foundation or the formation is built and the coach has got his point across, it's all about standing up and just making up for the lost player. And I think Bristol City did that second half. I thought they were excellent.
Yeah, no, I would wholeheartedly agree. And then the first goal of the game came. It was for Oxford United. I think at this point we all sort of sunk back in our chairs, Leroy. Miscommunication at the back, but probably Rob Dick, if we had to pick one person out, was the man at fault here. I
think so. You know, Rob, he's come to the 6-yard box just clear it. And this came off a run of shots that never really threatened the goal. And it's fallen to Greg Lee. And he's just trying to drive that across the 6-yard box. And he comes off it. And Max O'Leary is in their post. I don't think Max is at fault at all. It's one of those. I look at it from this angle. I just think, as a centre half, Rob is taking off that position. Just can he get his foot there?
It's almost as if he's pulled his foot away at one stage, and Max is rooted to the spot because he expects Rob Dickey to clear it.
Yeah.
And it's a horrible one for defenders. You don't want to slice the ball into your own goal. I know that. But for me, Rob only had to take another step to his right and then hook the ball clear. But for whatever reason, only he'll know, because you can even see him put his hands on his head as if to almost apologise. It was. City had done so much good up to that stage, and we just thought, do you know what, we could lose this 1 or 2-0 now. But they showed some resilience. They were excellent.
They certainly did. Really positive response and sensational from Sykes.
It was sensational, but the free kick is something's been worked on. The timing was perfect. Jason Knight runs past the ball, and Max Bird puts it in the D for him. He's still got plenty to do, and the quality of the finish is just brilliant. Obviously, having the right foot on this side is integral, and he just sets himself, and it's a lovely firm side foot into the top corner. And you know what? They've actually got a spare man there. Kyozo is a spare man, but he's dropped deep to defend the far post, and it's just absolutely perfect. And this was no more than they deserved. And you just felt, from then on, when this hit the back of the net, it really did give them a massive lift. Even with 10 men, they felt that they could go on and win the game. And you know what? They produced a bit of opportunities.
And it reinforces your point prior to the game that goals need to come from everywhere. Sykes has obviously been out injured for a period of time. He contributed with the assist at Sheffield Wednesday, but finds the score sheet today. And with all this talk again around Bristol City not necessarily bringing in a striker, we analysed that before the game. Proof in the pudding there. This is what we need, is goals from around the park.
Absolutely. And you know, me griping about centre forwards who don't hold the ball up, centre forwards who don't get free kicks, it's just as important, because, you know, Sinclair Armstrong came on who won the free kick. During this commentary, he could hold the ball up a little bit better, but you saw him as soon as he won the free kick, his confidence levels, didn't he?
He kind of worked it out, didn't he?
Yeah.
He kind of worked out that I can cause a little bit of chaos here. I can, you know, I'm 3 against 1. You know, I'm a little bit isolated up here. But if I put pressure on these centre halves, I can pick up the little bits and, you know, get the whole team up the field, take the pressure off the defenders behind. And he relished it.
He did.
And I liked it. He used his strength, he used his speed. His touch was... Everyone's touch wasn't great, but then he used his body well, and he got us at the pitch. He obviously was, you know, involved in that free kick. But the best bit for me, and I keep on watching that replay, was Brannigan, as he knew he'd been done on the edge of the box. In a nice little run towards the near post, had taken Brannigan out, and Brannigan almost like tried to change direction and to close down Sykes. And the ball was in the back of the net before he was able to get anywhere near him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, who scored? Voted this player the best in the Championship at the moment during the week, Luke McNally. And you were purring over his involvement today and just how solid he's been in recent weeks as well, Chris.
Yeah, he's just great. I mean, he seems to make up ground and then makes these lunging tackles. I mean, he's a big lad. I mean, he's 6'2", 6'3".
He's quick, isn't he?
He's quick. We saw him go for the gears maybe a couple of games ago when he had a load of space to take up, and he is quick. He's a really quick lad. So perhaps people underestimate him for his size, but he can change up. Again, he just eases across, uses his body, doesn't allow the centre forward to put his left foot back and get a shot on target. There he goes. He just gets his body across the man. He just does it so regularly, and he has a little bit of a knack of doing it, and he's just a great defender.
And he's chipped in, of course, as well with a couple of goals this season. That was real battling stuff. I mean, I think a few City players wanted things evened up again then from the referee, Leroy, but you've been equally impressed. And he's stood up arguably at times where Dickey and Viner maybe have just dropped below their kind of, you know, the performance levels we've maybe become accustomed to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, it's also difficult for him. He's had so many partners on that left-hand side. You know, he keeps switching. You know, he's been Pring, he's been McCrory. You know, McCrory got, you know, out of position a few times, and he doesn't seem... What I say to him as a young lad, he's got to maybe dictate and use his voice a little bit more, you know, because what I wouldn't want to see him get into those situations when he's, you know, defending so desperately in that situation when McCoy's getting pulled out of position. You know, the older you get, the more you use your voice. So he's only going to get better, but I've been really impressed with him, you know, since he's played that left side of 3, which is unaccustomed to him as well this season. He's played mostly in a 4, but he's got the pace over first 10 yards to get his team out of trouble, which he did on numerous occasions.
And Leroy, speaking of young players, Georgia, he trusted from the off today. Could have won it at the end, which was a bit agonising, but overall his contribution was positive.
Well, this was 78 minutes, you know, and he hadn't played, I don't think he played 90 minutes for a long time, and it's a ball over the top. He's run from the halfway line. As I said, the 3 of them, him, Bird and Knight, we worked so hard in that midfield, and can just see him, he's absolutely treading water. He's thinking, you know, I'm not going to get there, but he just needed it, just to take on his left foot and have the shot as early as possible.
It was like he was running on the beach at Bristol, wasn't he? He was just trying to get through the sand, and he could feel the fullback on cover closing him down. He just didn't sort his feet out. I thought he was going to open his body up and go for the little dink into the far corner, and then he had a little bit of a dodgy touch where the ball moved from one side of his body to the next. Then I thought he was going to swing his left foot at it. But do you know what? We got a point. It's a great point.
Yeah.
And we think, I've just had this whispered to me in my ear, so apologies if this isn't wholly accurate, but we have to cast our minds back to 2012 when Bristol City played Leeds at home, lost 3-0. James Wilson, Yannick Bolasie were the players that were sent off in that one. That was the last time City went down to 9 men, 2 sending offs.
Yeah, I just want to say, Toby, I mean, you know, playing with 10 men is really hard, but the way that he asked the 3 midfield players to play is unbelievably hard. by the way, when you're without the ball. And what it does, it just takes all the energy out your legs. And I just thought they were
your quality
incredible.
goes, doesn't it? You can't pass the ball. Even when the ball comes to you, it gets away, your touch is poor,
exactly.
isn't it?
And they were just across, and Nightbird and Earthy were just right to left for the most of that second half. You saw the possession stats. And so it's no surprise that when they had to run forward, they didn't have the energy to do that. But they did such an important job for the team. I thought they were outstanding.
Yeah, and of course they had to dig really deep. Marcus McGuane came on as well to act as a bit of cover. Chris, Bristol City went down to 9 men. Can Ross McCrory have too many complaints? If we look at the yellow card first of all in the first half, we felt so it was a little bit soft at this point in the game. I don't think he'd really been penalised for anything at this point, and it was a collision that he didn't really go in with much intention on.
No, it was one that the ball seemed to take an age to get to his man, and they both went down in heaps. And I didn't even know that Ross McCrory had been booked on that occasion. And you can see him saying, what? We kind of just, you can see he almost tried to pull out. But they both ended up in a heap. He got booked for that one. But this one, yeah, he definitely deserved the booking for this. Once you're committed, but they both arrive at the ball pretty simultaneously. The only difference being is that Ross didn't end up being injured. Brown was on the ground and he was in a heap, and Ross kind of knew he had to go. But that's just what happens. 2 bookings, an early booking for nothing. Perhaps he should have just pulled out, but it's very hard not to because he's a committed young man and he loves to tackle.
A lot of energy being put in by those Oxford players to get around the ref at each opportunity as well.
They certainly did. Ross is one of the first ones. It's not a booking. And the referee, it's poor. Again, he's reacted to the player going down. It's just a coming together. The second one, if he hadn't gone for it, we've been asking questions of him. And the problem for Ross is that he got there just, I think, slightly later than Brown. If it had been the other way around, you're absolutely right. Would Brown have picked up the yellow card? But Ross has no complaints now. He's going to have to sit out one game.
Well, he'll sit out Swansea. Straight red usually means a 3-game ban for Joe Williams. You'd have thought Bristol City might appeal that.
They should appeal it.
Yeah. And
see what happens. They can't get any worse. In all honesty, because if they look at that in the cold light of day, the replay, they'll see that it wasn't endangering an opponent. The thing is, they might see it as reckless, because that's what everybody assumed it to be when you first see it. But he got the ball, and it's just his follow through. So hopefully, they might get away with it. But you know what?
But it's almost one of those tackles now that they kind of picked on and said, you can't do them anymore. We're going to use this tackle as an example of over ambitious or over violent conduct. I mean, as Leroy said, he won the tackle with his left foot. It was the right foot that came through and took the man out. So you don't know. I mean, they can't do it. There's no harm in appealing.
No.
It'd be nice if they did bring it down from 3, but wait and watch.
Right, that is it from us on Robin's TV Extra Time. Thank you for joining us as we reflect on that draw between Bristol City and Oxford United. A good draw in the end on the road with 9 men. Bristol City return to Ashton Gate on Sunday against Swansea City. Kick off for that one at midday as they look to make it 5 wins from 5 at home. We'll see you next time.